Well, hello folks, and welcome to another video here on my channel. It's the day after I attempted my summer solstice 24-hour TT. I'm going to talk about the different ways you can ride a solstice. I've kind of pinpointed 4 different ways you can ride it. The first is you just go out and do whatever you want to celebrate the longest day of the year. You can do it as a dusk to dawn. Thirdly is a 12-hour TT or a 24-hour TT. So I'm just going to have a bit of a reflection back on the last 4 years of riding. So we're going back to 2018 here. This was the very first time I did the summer solstice ride, and this is the route you see up on the screen. And I met with another rider at Kidby Bridge. The two of us cycled all the way down to about here, Stickney. We were joined by 3 other riders. That was after 115 kilometres, 5 hours in. Rode all the way around the Humber there. That was interesting. Coming back on yourself kind of thing. That very first ride was 345. As a group ride, that's really good. You're riding at different paces. There's plenty of breaks in there. So this is a route I took here, and this is my most successful one to date. So again, left crawl, clockwise riding all the way through to York, had a puncture back here somewhere, fixed that. Went to York, I had problems with my bottom bracket. I went to that bike shop, Cycle Heaven in York. They did some bits and bobs just to get me through the rest of the day. All the way down the bottom, stopped in a pub, perhaps around here, for 3/4 of an hour. I needed to use the toilets. And I thought, oh, this pub, I can't just go in and use the toilet at 10 o'clock at night. Just do that. So I'm gonna have to buy a pint. So I enjoyed a pint there. The Lincoln Waterway along here, that was all interesting, across 5-lane bridge, all the way. That was a hell of a long day. So I managed to 495. That's when my 24 hours was up, as you can see just above it there, 24 and 11 seconds. So I did 495 kilometres, not quite made it home, which would have been 5:04. So yeah, pretty good. I say pretty good. Brilliant really for me, it's fantastic. 2020, this is the 2020 ride. Again, I set out on a 24-hour TT, didn't work out on this time though. It was a hot, sweaty day. I hadn't taken a spare jersey with me, and I was all sticky and sweaty. I got to about here, something like that, and I was like, oh, my mum's and dad's not very far away. I'm not sure I can get through the night time period for connecting that final piece up there. I'm shivering, it's cold. So I rang my mum and dad and said, I know it's 12:30, but luckily you're not in bed just yet. Can I come and stay? So I did. So that was the 2020 one. Fast forward to this year, different route, entirely different. To answer the question why I didn't finish it, knee problems. I set out too hard early on and hadn't done much riding in the week, which can only assume contribute to being a little bit inflexible and then kind of quite hurting. So conscious decision, I'm gonna drop into Thorn and take the canal path home. And my 12 hours, you can see there at the time at the top, the 12 hours stopped at 2:69. So that's what I've been doing in the last 4 years, varying degrees of difficulty. Now I'm going to show you kind of some of the things that I took with me yesterday, and the things you need to think about. So obviously you got various electronic stuff. Unplugged my power bank, I'm still charging stuff. So you need a good power bank. This is the one I use, so I've actually got 3 of them by Rav Power, and this is the smallest one I got. I probably could do getting one of those pen style ones, just so they're a little bit lighter. I don't need all the power this produces, to be honest. I actually took 2 GPSs with me. That's the Wahoo Element Roam, and this is the one I initially wanted to go out with. It's the Garmin 520 Plus or 530 Plus, I can never remember which. Backstory of this is, rather briefly, I downloaded the route to this device the day before, and I'm like, okay, fantastic, it's all good to go in the morning. Loaded it up first thing in the morning, and it said too many plots on the map, can't load the route. So I was like, what? Half of the morning, ready to go. I'm like, oh dear. So I came back inside, jumped on the computer, broke the route into 3 separate parts, but trying to work out how I was going to move how I'm going to break that into 3 parts and ride with GPS So did that, downloaded them again, which took forever to get them on the Garmin, and it just wouldn't load the very first one. So I'm like, oh, what's going on here? So then I thought, right, use the Wahoo. But I've not got the mount on my Cube, which I went with. So I'm like, okay, let's get the mount off my hybrid. Finally put it onto the bike, loaded the route, and jobs are good, and I was away at 5 o'clock. So it kind of delayed me for about half an hour. More of the story is trying to be prepared as much as you can, but you can't cover every eventuality, can you? Got to be caught out there. I've never used the Garmin before for doing a summer solstice ride. So I think in future, probably what I'm going to do is break routes down into 200 kilometres, and then the Garmin shouldn't have any problems. Moving on, have a good pair of lights. This is a Cat Eye Volt 1300. I've got a 1200, which is still sat on the bike. You might want to take one or two with you. There's only 6 hours of darkness, so you know, if you're doing a 24 hours ride, you probably need some lights. If you're doing just a dawn, you might be able to get away with it. You've got 6 hours of darkness. So really what I would do is try and put it on a medium setting, or if you know you can get through on a high setting, do that. Especially if you're on lots of narrow country lanes and things like that. Be safe, you don't want to punch you in the middle of the night. That's the last thing you want. I've been there, done that. Food, nutrition, I took some bananas with me. I took a couple of caffeine, well, one caffeine. This is SAS Go, which way around is it there? I took 2 High Five nutrition things. I made some paninis full of peanut butter. I took some little mini sausage rolls with me, and they all went in the first half, which is fine because I was planning to stock up again for the second half of the ride. So there's just typical nutrition things you need to take with you. Power lead, this is a massive one. This isn't the one I took with me, but it's a typical USB lead to charge your Wahoo or your Av Power. Oh, coming back to the Wahoo, because it was a stem cap one, I couldn't charge it on the move, so I made sure when I stopped for a break, which I did in the morning, take this off, plug it straight in and get it charged from 75% all the way up to about 90 or something in that 20-minute break. So it's well worth charging it, or even if it's still got loads of energy, get it charged as soon as you possibly can. Finally, what I've got here, before I move on to clothing, is my frame bag. And this one is from Restrap. Strap here at the front, large area in there. At the moment I've emptied it, so I've got like latex gloves, so you know, in case you have any problems on the bike. Got some loo roll in there. You may take some loo roll, you need that. Kind of things I took in there with me. I've not got anything to show you because I put things away now. So it was going to be raining overnight, which I didn't get to. But so I was carrying lots of things that I didn't actually use in the end. Rain jacket. This one is from Sportful, and that's the hot pack. That was just in case it would have rained overnight. I took a spare pair of gloves for that overnight period as well, because I knew the fingerless ones were going to get very wet. Leg warmers. It's a DHB leg warmer. Started out with in the morning. As you imagine, it heated up quite quickly. Took those off. Again, arm warmers. Needed those for the overnight period. You know, you'd be surprised how cold it gets. And because I didn't want to make the same mistake in 2020 and getting too hot, I took a spare cycling jersey as well. So all these kind of things that you should take with you on a 24-hour TT, or even just the daily one, minus all the lights and things. I just spotted this light on here as well. This goes on your helmet. It's an exposure link Mark II. Just show you that. So it sits on your helmet. I've mainly used this for, well, in this context, I'd use this if I had a mechanical overnight. It just sits on top of your helmet, and that goes on there, and you can move it around, things like that. Generally, I use it for wild camping, so you can see into forest, so you can be on riding along. You can point it wherever you want. It's really bright, really useful. What I took with me as well was a MP3 player. I bet you haven't seen one of these for a while. Everybody seems to use the phones nowadays, but if you're on a long ride, don't use your phone. The battery dies really quickly, so you might want to take your charger with you. But you can use your phone, I suppose. I prefer to not take that risk. I'll take an iPod or MP3 player, whatever it is you might have. So this one's got like 3,000 songs in it or something like that, maybe more than that. And I stick it on shuffle play, so I've always got something piping into my ears. So essentially, that's all I'm going to show you in this video, really. You know, things you should take with you. Perhaps I'll show you a little bit the route selection as well. Very briefly though, I tend to map all my routes out in Ride with GPS. Luckily for me, I'm spoilt with flat places to ride my bike. So if we zoom out, all this, all the way down to this chunk of it. Apart from a few key points on the map there, most of it's flat. Again, north as well, this whole area around here. So there's so much in there I can use for flatness. I can even go into here if I really wanted. Probably do that in a future year. So as you can see, I've got so much to play with. I tend to use the terrain so you can see where things are. I'll drop into the OSM cycle as well. So I can see any sort of NCN routes and things like that. If you're going to do it for a time trial, see how many miles you can ride, you probably want to keep it quite flat, especially if you want to test yourself year in, year out. Or you could just go for your jollies, that very first option. But for me, I want to see how far I can go. It's still not perfect. You know, when it's somewhere obvious like here, you can see a line along here where areas to keep out of. But I can probably go all the way up here or into there and stay out of the other hills. So that's briefly how I would use Ride with GPS or Strava or Komoot or things like that. Hopefully that's kept you entertained. It's not been too lengthy and it's inspired you to perhaps give it a go next year. If you've already done a summer solstice ride, do tell me about it. Where did you ride? And let me know how it went. What problems did you have? I'd love to hear from you, so hit the comments down below. For me, take care. Have a great week. I'll see you again soon. Bye bye. If you ain't coming, I hear the road